Hey everybody, Mike Toy with Bonsai Boise. This is my 2 little leaf ficus. This is going to be about a 6-month progression. If you haven't seen its original video that I did about a year ago, I'll put a link for that right here. So I've had this about a year. So back in March, I noticed I pulled it out of the greenhouse, and as you can see, it had this kind of like, I don't know if it has mold or algae or moss or what that is, but it wasn't looking good. So I decided to pull it out, take a look. So if you did watch the last video, you'll see it had this massive root base, these giant ficus potato roots that they're notorious for getting. And I basically just sawed it off and stuck it in the pot. And so the more I looked at it on this day, I realized I don't like it. So I got drastic. Let's take it in another direction. Let's start to get rid of some of these potato roots. So I did. And if that wasn't drastic enough, I decided while I was at it, let's do some corrections here on the branches. These 2 little leaf ficus are pretty notorious also for back budding and popping out 4 or 5 branches in one spot, which you'll see if you did watch the original video, or if you do, you'll see that basically all the branches almost were coming out of one location there at the top. So here in a moment, you'll see the giant cut wound that I did. You can kind of see it there. You'll get a better look in a minute. So I fixed some of the branching problem, and I tried to get it to a manageable level, because you don't want a whole bunch of branches coming out of one spot. You'll get reverse taper and a big bulge, and you don't want that. So I potted it up into some new soil, pruned the heck out of the branches, pruned the heck out of the roots, and we sort of just did a big reset on this guy. And there it is after I got it all potted up. And then put it back in the greenhouse. And I thought, okay, no problem. A little hiccup in its development, but a worthwhile hiccup. It's worth doing. So I was feeling good about it. It was a good balance of pruning between branches and roots. So I thought, that's what you want. You don't want to prune all the roots and leave branches. But then, disaster. So this is in June. I'm at work one day, and I get a snap of my bench situation, and that was one of them. And I was at work. There was nothing I could do for like 2 hours. I just had to sit there and worry about it. Finally got home. It was a weird little blessing in disguise, because it gave me a chance to see how it was going, and as you can see, it wasn't going well. It had no new roots at all. In fact, I think it even had maybe less roots. What's worse, I didn't even have any soil. I didn't even have any materials to make soil, so I just had to pot it back up in its same soil, which I don't like doing. Fast forward to today. Here it is. All ended up being well. You can see that the foliage has grown out quite a bit. It's a good sign. But what's got me worried, the soil looks a little crummy, and it's still kind of wobbly. From June to September, that's the main part of the growing season. It's been outside on the bench. It shouldn't still be wobbly. It should have more roots. I would have expected it would be full of roots. So I suspect there's something going on maybe in the soil. I don't know. Nothing serious, because it wouldn't have all those leaves if it was too serious. But so what I want to do today is pull it out, see how it's going, which I don't like doing that either, because it's only been in the soil for 3 months. I don't really want to disturb it, but I just want to put it in some fresh soil and just kind of see if there's a problem there. And maybe just trim up a little bit of the branches. There's some longer straight ones, and then again there's some back budding down at the base, so there's 4, 5, 6, 7 branches coming out of one location. So I want to correct any of that. But I don't want to get drastic again, if I can avoid it. Also, I'll take a break here in a minute and show you some of the cuttings that I've taken from this. these cuttings root very easy, and they grow pretty well too. So I'll show you some here in a few minutes. First, let's pull this guy out and see how it's doing. To my surprise, it does have some new roots. So I was happy to see that. Not a ton, but some. If you remember what it looked like a minute ago in March, it didn't really have hardly any. And the roots it did have didn't look good. But these are nice, fresh, healthy roots. Again, not a ton, but some. But that soil just looks crummy. I don't know what the deal is with it. I've noticed that it does that sometimes when I use the same soil. It smelled bad too. So, no comment. Just pretend you didn't see that. Anyways, the roots. I rinsed it off, cleaned it up real good. You can see some roots. They're not really growing in the directions that I want them to go. Like a couple of them are growing inward. But the last thing I want to do right now is trim any roots. So I'm not going to. My usual soil mix: pine bark, safety absorb, perlite, and some volcanic rock, some very small volcanic rock. Here's a closer look at it. That pot's looking kind of ugly on the inside. Pretend you didn't see that too. So now we're just gonna pot it up. Try to get these roots to spread outward rather than inward, but you know. And I'm gonna bury it a little deeper in the soil this time. So kind of a sacrifice, because covering up some of that nabari, if you want to call it that. But it's for the health of the tree. The roots will grow better the deeper they are, so that's what I did. This pot, I think this pot is perfect for that tree, but it only has one drainage hole, so I had to address that a little bit. Anyways, here's some of the cuttings. We'll give that a minute to drain. Here's just a little one that I put in this really small bonsai pot just for funsies. I think I just liked the shape of it and the direction it was going. I thought, sure, let's stick that in a little bonsai pot. Here's some of the larger ones. I really can't remember if these were original cuttings from a year ago when I first got the tree and did this repot, or if it was from 6 months ago. I don't remember. And these are just, I just grabbed a handful of them. I probably got, I don't know, 5 or so more over on the benches. That's when I just stuck cuttings in, just every so often. I would just stick cuttings in there, and they took off. There's about, I want to say there's like 5 or 6 cuttings in there that just bushed out. I've never trimmed them or anything. Not sure what I'm going to do with it. Not sure what I'm going to do with these either. Just sort of letting them grow for now. As small as those trunks are, they're not quite as flexible as like a regular Ficus benjamina, so I don't want to wire it up and try to bend it too much. Maybe I will on a smaller one just to see how it goes, but yeah. Cuttings root real easy. And they're not as abundant as regular Ficus benjamina. These quote-unquote two little leaf Ficus benjamina are kind of a special variety that I've only seen for sale once, and it was this one, and so I bought it. So now, as far as pruning goes, like I said, I don't want to get drastic. I really just wanted to get healthy, but at the same time, I'm just going to correct some of these spots where we've got a bunch of branches growing out of the same location or in a very wrong location. So this is one. And you can see that scar. See that giant scar right on top, right up front? It's going to take a long time to heal, but it was necessary at the time. If you watched the original video, you probably would have seen me do it. Probably cringe a little, but it had to be done. So while it looks good full, I mean, it's all leafed out and looking full and healthy. It's full in a bad way in some of these spots, like right there. I don't want that reverse taper and those big bulges growing again. I'm trying to heal the first one. After that, I just go through and I just sort of cut the tips off of some of the longer branches just so they start to grow more outward and ramify more. One branch splits into two, prune the tips, two split into four, etc. And if I see any really old leaves, like, oh, you can kind of tell a new leaf from an old leaf. If you see an old one and it's growing in like the elbow of the branch, I get rid of those too. Usually 2 or 3 new leaves will take their place. So here it is. This is the final product. I'm happy with the result. I didn't go crazy with it. It's starting to look a lot better than it did 3 months ago and 6 months ago. So yeah, high hopes for this. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. You can see updates on this and others. And thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your night.